have questions, please just pop them in the chat and I can read them out. And that way you guys can just stay on mute the whole time. And that should keep things nice and easy for us. So panelists, if you guys want to unmute and introduce yourself, just a quick little intro, because we're going to talk about various other things along the way. I'm just going to let somebody else in. Switch my view. All right. So I guess if we could go Hannah and then Lexi, if you guys introduce yourselves, that keeps you guys together.
Cool. I'm Hannah Ballard. I'm the founder and co-director of Soul Rebel. I'm based in Liverpool.
And hi, my name's Lexi Bradburn, and I'm the co-director as well. I'm pointing down. Hannah's there for me. She might not be there.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm the co-director of Soul Rebel, and I'm based in London.
Nice. Jack, if you could go next.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jack. I'm a teacher, I'm the choreographer. I teach at Bird, and I've got this little thing called Huffers. I don't really have a description for it that much. And that's it, I guess. Hi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get to some more. Nice. Avalon, if you could go next.
Hey guys, I'm Avalon Rathgeb. I'm the artistic director of Old Kent Road.
Jamie.
Hiya, I'm Jamie Spall, and I am one of the co-founders of the Brighton Tap Festival, and also a tap dancer.
And last but definitely not least, Helen.
Hi, I'm Helen Duffy. I am a tap dancer based in London. I've been in lots of these people's companies. I was in Soul Rebel Tap, I'm in Old Kent Road, and I'm also in a company, Sebastian Weber Dance Company in Germany, and doing my own little thing here at the moment.
Nice. All right. So we're going to take just a kind of a little chat talking about various different creative processes. We've got a real mixed bag kind of across the panel of different types of projects that people are involved in. So hopefully we'll cover a lot of questions that you guys might have. But yeah, we'll see how we go. So we can, if someone just wants to kick this off, but then you guys can kind of jump in if it relates or if it's slightly different. First of all, we just want to talk about like how long is your creative process? So maybe if we just go back to like Hannah and Lexi, if you start us off, like how long does it take for you to create a new piece of something, whatever it is you're working on, and the rest of you guys can kind of jump in as and when.
Cool. Well, it really largely depends on what the project is for us, and also we've been getting Arts Council funding for about 8 years now, so always project based, and we've started quite small and been building up every year. So luckily the last project we've done, which is our new show Off the Beaten Track, we founded, well, we had 2 stages to it. We did the R&D stage where we had the opportunity to, how long was it, Lexi, like 2 days with each director?
Yeah, 5 directors.
We decided we wanted to make a full-length piece. It's an hour show for indoor touring again, because I'll talk about our outdoor work as well separately, but we wanted to make a new sort of full show for indoor touring. We wanted it to be with an outside director, because previously me and Lexi have like choreographed and directed our shows. So we spent 2 days with 5 different directors, sort of each, like checking how they work in the studio, how we work together, what their creative process was. So that was really interesting for us, and what they brought out of us as performers and with our skills. And then, so that was like one stage. And then we reapplied to Arts Council funding and got further funding to do the creating of the show. So we decided to work with Sean Kempton, who's a awesome, crazy man who works for Cirque du Soleil as a clown.
Awesome.
So he's brilliant. He's so much fun. but he's got so many bonkers ideas. So we put 3 weeks into the creative budget, 15 days. It wasn't enough. So, because he created so much material, but we didn't manage to make the actual show. Because we were also collaborating with another guy. I mean, we can talk about the creative process later. A sound artist and wordsmith, poet, really talented also in his field. So 3 weeks, 15 days wasn't really enough to make an hour's show. So we had to move the budget around, and we had an extra 5 days. So we had 20 days to create an hour show. But we also had a really large set to play with. You know, there's so many other things in the mix of it. So yeah, that was our last show. But before that, outdoor work, which we normally make sort of 15 to 20 minutes sort of length. I suppose we normally do about 10 days, would you say, Lexi? In like little bits?
Yeah, it really depends. And it jumps around because as soon as you're trying to get something ready for performances, obviously you need to put further work in anyway. It depends what the timeline is for between stages of rehearsals and when you're then putting it out there. There's always a few more days. But yeah, the current creative process, I'd say, is 2 years and running, Hannah.
I know, now it's been postponed again. It's like, oh, when will we ever get this show out?
Cool, thanks for that. Anyone else want to jump in on their kind of timeline for things?
We when I'm working with Sebastian's company in Germany, we always have one full week, which is our research week, so R&D, and we spend that whole week just like throwing material into like a pit, basically. So we do loads of like arts and crafts and make mood boards and watch clips, find pictures. So for example, when it was Cowboys was the show, loads of the research was quite like Western cowboy style. And there was all different things for that. And then after that week, everyone else, because we're all from different countries, everyone flies home, and he spends 2-3 weeks with his assistant choreographer, Michaela Samaki. And they siphon through everything, watch everything back and choose what they like, and then see how they can fit that into an actual show. And then we come back, and we normally have 6 weeks worth then of rehearsals to piece it together. And it will keep changing until the day, basically. So we have about 6 or 7 weeks. Well, our last one on Folk Fiction, it was the day of the premiere, and the music hadn't actually been finished because he like made changes, and there were some guys in Peru making the song for us. So it was like the day of, and we were waiting on the final drafts, which I don't think we've actually received yet. So that can like take a long time to pull together.
Wow. Anyone else want to jump in?
I guess I can talk a bit about it.
Yeah, go for it.
When we were making Fallout, which was our first show, we got together every Friday morning. So that took a while, and we just made a 20-minute section first of all. So we were working for 4 or 5 hours every Friday to make that 20-minute section. Then we got Arts Council funding. We went into, I think it was a week or 2 weeks of rehearsals, but we were working on material continuously until we actually had a full-length show. With Oscillate, it was a completely different process. Myself and Dre Torres co-choreographed it, and we've been working on it for about 6 or 7 months with a composer for the music. And then we came back, because we actually created all the material in America, and we came back and we put it on the dancers in 3 weeks, which was like insane, because it was an hour show that we just had to put on the dancers, and they just had to like absorb everything, learn everything, and then perform it, which was pretty scary. And Ryan and Helen were in those rehearsals. Jamie, you weren't at the time, were you? No,
I was having a baby.
You were Lexi was there as well. So it was a lot. 3 weeks with that show, and it's a dense show as well. So those two processes were extremely different in terms of timeline. Yeah.
Something like Fallout also had different stages to it. Well, I guess Oscillate did as well, have like being a shorter thing and then becoming a longer production.
Yeah, so yeah, we made little sections. So that the first 20 minutes we made had, I think, 3 or 4 pieces in it. And then we made a few more pieces to take to Brighton Fringe Festival. And then I think we made something else, adapted little bits to take to Dance Days in Dusseldorf. And then we put it all together as a show. Then there was some issues with some music rights and things like that. So then we ended up recreating, and then we made that show each year for, I want to say 2-3 years. Oscillate, we created it all, and then after we'd taken it up to Edinburgh Fringe, we performed it at Sadler's and we performed it at some other places. We then actually, we got Arts Council funding for that first initial process. And then we put it into redevelopment. We added pieces as well, and then changed all of the order and kind of storyline journey through the piece. And that was the second part of the Arts Council funding. And that also gave us the ability to tour as well with that funding.
Yeah. You mentioned Brighton Tap Festival, so actually just leads us really nicely to Jamie, and then Jack will come to you afterwards, because that leads us nicely into our next thing. So yeah, Jamie, how long does it take to put a tap festival together that's not online like we've done this weekend?
It's obviously a very different process to creating a body of work. It's obviously a different space to that. When we first originally made the first Brighton Tap Festival, there wasn't an international tap festival in the UK. So we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really have any UK connections to kind of give us any tips. We just thought, let's just give it a go and see how we do for the first one. That was in 2016. And it takes a good couple of months. I would say you need to decide you're definitely going to be doing it 6 months at least beforehand, because you need to set a date. You need to find all of the teachers that are going to be available for that date. Lots of the time, professional tap dancers are booked months, sometimes years in advance. So you need to make sure the teachers that you want are free. And also, because it's an international tap festival, some people travel from different countries to come to the festival. So you need to make sure they've got enough time to book flights, to book accommodation, to plan their travels, to plan whatever else they need to do.
Yeah.
So the whole process from, thinking about the festival to actually doing it would probably be 6 months plus.
Yeah. And then even within that, you've got various different things you've got to curate, right? You've got your teaching thing, like you've got your teaching schedule, but then you've also got to put together a full production if you're going to do a gala, which you did. Then there's all the other stuff in between, like you guys always had a really nice hangout space at Brighton. Like there are so many factors.
Yeah. It's really, you wouldn't believe the list. If I was writing it down just before we started the panel, and I thought, oh God, if I could talk for hours about what each individual thing that we need to set up and, to plan. You really have to have thought of everything before you can put a full festival together, because sometimes you've got 200, 300 students all doing different classes throughout the day, and then you need to make sure that they have enough time to drink some water, have some lunch. Same with the teachers, they need some rest, need to be able to have a bit of time before the evening events. And then you obviously need to choose the venues, make sure that it's within the price range as well, that you can't just pick and choose whatever you like, because it has to fit within the budget as well. So
sure.
It's a long process.
Awesome, thanks for that. So Jack, that kind of leads us quite nicely to you. And obviously you've been, over the last couple of years, doing some really different things with kind of shorter concept video projects, or even live performances that have been filmed, like some of the stuff you've done with Bird, versus trying to create a full narrative driven theatre piece. So could you talk about the massive differences between those two kind of things you're trying to tackle at once?
I think the video stuff is really an antidote to the stresses of the long stuff. So I've been working on Feet Keep Me Flying for 4 years now, and I'm working with some really good quality collaborators that are often booked out, and it's very difficult to get through the the dense and complex narrative and writing process. So that's
Could you
why.
just give, just a tiny bit of background info on Feet Keep Me Flying for people that maybe aren't
sure.
familiar?
It's so it's a bit of a beast. It's a 2-act show. It's essentially got all the components of a musical, but the sort of ratio of dance is drastically higher versus song and dialogue. So dialogue, it takes like a different form. Song is really used for highlighting story, and dance really tells the story. So the singing comments on the story, but the dance tells the story. So it's the lines are a bit blurred, and every time I get asked to define it, I can't put it in a box. It doesn't belong in the musical theatre world in that sense, with like a script that is grounded in dialogue, and dance is used to press pause on the story and like highlight an emotion or a certain plot point. And at the same time, it's not pure dance theatre. It sort of sits in the middle. So I would say like the best way I can think of describing it is that it's I can't describe it. It is a dance show. I'd say it's a dance show, but I'm hoping that its use of song and dialogue helps to tell a much more complex narrative than dance alone can tell. So obviously there's so much going on with that. It's like a 6-figure budget to produce it, maybe 7, to get it right. And I don't want to do anything other than that, like to get the show going. I don't want to do a smaller version, because for it to work, it needs to have all of the elements produced really well. And the sort of length of time to get there is a combination of me trying to break out as a choreographer. I've just got to be more known by people, because people don't often take a punt on people they don't know, and I'm still relatively new as a creative in a professional capacity. And also, things like raising money, which everybody's sort of spoken about, the Arts Council, and I've had my ups but many more downs with them. And just before the lockdown, we were supposed to do something with the show, but obviously it's been postponed, and probably for quite a while. So the reason that I started Huffers a couple of years ago was so that I could have complete control over something happening. Like it wasn't dependent on an application. It wasn't dependent on a composer meeting deadlines or being available despite living on the other side of the world. It was like, it's all me. It's like a lot smaller. It's something affordable, where if things go wrong, there's no sort of financial implications. And then all the participants basically just contribute to the overheads. I don't pay anything to myself. It's a complete passion project, and we just get to create work. And the sort of most viable way of finding an audience that I've found is through creating videos. And so that's what I've been using. Yeah, so they're the differences, really. I guess that was more about producing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How long would you spend on, say, like a Huffers project?
So the process is 6 weeks in terms of starting with the dancers. They do like a Sunday every 6 weeks, and on week 6 we film it. But I don't know, I mean, like I did a piece to Lewis Capaldi's Bruises, and that came out of listening to his music on holiday, being this like total relaxed state, listening to Bruises and thinking, I love the piano and vocal and the absence of everything else. And it just, I think that and a layer of tap would work really well with it. But then we didn't film it until October. So in terms of like having the idea and actually being able to execute it, that took, several months. But with that, I usually choreograph on the spot with them. I don't prepare anything, just so that it works specific to the dancers. And there's, something doesn't work, or if something needs to be changed in order to show those specific dancers for that project to their best abilities, then it can. The latest one I did was to a Stormzy track, Audacity, and on the first rehearsal, Noemi, one of the dancers, she had a lot to offer, and I just immediately made her co-choreographer, and she just transformed it in ways that I couldn't have. And so yeah, there's a lot of that. It feels spontaneous, it feels raw, and there's a lot of energy in the room when we create, whereas Feet Keep Me Flying is kind of refined so that every single second is layered and thought about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see why you refer to it as an antidote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
I think, yeah, we all have those kind of things, and it's important to have them, whether it's still kind of tap dance related or it's something else, but it's that other thing that helps you keep plugging away at the other thing.
I think someone Mike Song, who's a hip hop choreographer in America, he once said that when you sort of become a professional performer or choreographer, there's a little bit that can die in you as you try and pay the bills from working. And so it's important to always have something that is absent of those pressures, like earning an income, raising money and all of that you can just do in your spare time, that you're passionate about and you feel satisfaction from. Mm-hmm. And making videos is that, because I've not got to sell tickets and rely on anything other than myself. So I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we
so
see the result.
It keeps the passion alive.
Yeah, and we see the results in awesome videos. Nice. Okay. Jamie, you already kind of mentioned some stuff. Just thinking, do you want to add some more on kind of the ins and outs of creating something like Brighton? Whether you just want to focus on one thing, whether that's cultivating a gala, or like how do you go even start deciding on who to pick for a faculty when there are so many options out there?
I'll touch on a few things, I guess.
Great.
So to start at the beginning, we decided to start Brighton Tap Festival. I touched on it earlier because no one was doing it in the UK at that time. And myself and my good friend Kate Ivory Jordan, who is also involved with Jack's with this, she and I put the festival together with the help of our parents at the time, because it was a couple of years ago, we were pretty young. And we had been traveling, going to loads of festivals. We had trained with a load of really high standard teachers in the US, in festivals all over the world. And we just loved doing that. That was our favorite thing to do at the time. So we thought, why not do our own? If we love attending them, I'm sure we would like to create one. So that's how it kind of started. And we called it Brighton Tap Festival because we were holding it in Brighton. So that seemed like a fitting name. We thought selecting teachers would be the first step. So we kind of just thought about who we enjoyed teaching from for the first one. That's what we kind of did. We thought the best way to do that would be who we enjoyed the best. We thought other people would also enjoy. So that was how we selected the first lot of teachers. And then obviously moving on to the next 2 years that we did, we chose teachers that we thought would potentially bring in students because we actually lost a little bit of money the first year. So we thought, maybe it can't just be all about what we like. Maybe it needs to be a little bit of who's going to bring in some students. And obviously we make sure that we like everybody that we bring in as well. So yeah, that's how we would select teachers. It's kind of a selection of different things and different opinions, because it's not just me putting it together. It wouldn't have just been me choosing.
Yeah.
So that's how we would select the teachers. And yeah, when you're obviously putting on a festival large scale like we did, you have to have a big space to have multiple classes going on at the same time. We chose to do it in Brighton because if we did it in London, it would have been so expensive to have a space like that. We would have sometimes 4 classes going on at the same time, and we had that space where you can just chill out and have some food or whatever.
Yeah, which
But
is such a nice part of a festival. Like anyone that's been to one,
Yeah.
like the hangout space is just as important as the class space. That's where you get to meet people from all over the world and you know, exchange ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought we have to have a whole building, a big one. And yeah, we chose what we did. I don't know if any of the participants here have been to the festival. I know Becky Crooks has, but you guys will have seen it was like covered in graffiti. It's not the cleanest of places, but it did the job, and you know, everybody was able to get there. It's not too far from London, so that's a big thing. You have to have the space available to have multiple classes on at the same time. So that was pretty hard to find, but we did find a good one there. So that's, yeah, they're the first two steps. Select your teachers, find where you're going to hold the festival. But also selecting the date as well is really important, because there's so many different tap events, tap festivals going on, and there's new ones being added every single year. And we wanted to make sure that nothing else was going on at the same time. You know, you don't want to take students away from someone else's event. We want to make sure that everybody can experience everything they would like to. So we found 3 dates at the end of August, start of September, that no one was doing anything. So we locked it in and did the same on the other festivals as well. And yeah, you have to release the date pretty early so that people can, if they are coming from Spain, USA, we had a couple from Italy, they need to book their flights, hopefully when it's cheap.
Yeah.
You can book it earlier, and book the accommodation, because it was at the end of summer. It was like the last week of the school summer holidays, so lots of the accommodation will be booked out already. So we need to get the date out early so people can book everything they need to. So yeah, that's just a couple of things. You know, that's at the very start of trying to put a festival together, but there's so many different things that you need to think about. You need to make sure that the teachers are teaching for a price that they're happy with. You know, you have to make sure that they're getting paid. You have to also make sure they've got somewhere to stay, make sure they're going to be eating okay every day, make sure they know when and where they're teaching, what they're teaching, get all of their music together for the gala, get a band together for the gala, find venues for all of the evening events, choose which evening events you want. I could go on and on and on. There's so many different things. But yeah, there's a few little points that, yeah, I could go into more detail. But
yeah, and you're normally a core team of 4 putting this together, right?
yes, so it would be myself, Kate Ivory Jordan, my mum, Karen Spall, and her mum, Kate Ivory. Oh, sorry, Sarah Ivory. not Kate.
Awesome. Okay, so Helen, you already kind of spoke to us about a bit of Sebastian's process, but feel free to add some more to that. But also, what's it like working in a company with, well, first of all, a company that's not based in the UK? Are there just really glaringly obvious differences between like the German way of doing it and the UK way? Plus, you then have a mix of nationalities within the company and in the room at the same time. How does that affect things? Obviously, you guys generally work in English, but you have a variety of languages in the room as well. Except for you speak like 4 languages or something. Yeah, anything to comment on there?
Cool. Yeah, it's wild. It's chaos. 24/7. We have like, I think we've got Italy, Honduras, USA, Germany, England, Norway, France, Spain, and Sweden represented in the company. So firstly, I am amazingly lucky that everyone's English is fluent. So we do, like, English is what we talk in all the time, but it always happens within like 4 or 5 days of rehearsal. Everyone's tired, and so for everyone else, their English, like, it's still amazing, but obviously you revert to your mother tongue, so everyone's phrasing starts to go weird. My English starts, like, whenever I come home, people comment that I talk in broken English. It's because you're so tired on trying to like focus on creating a piece that you start saying weird phrases or missing words out of sentences. I find the most difficult thing actually is because a few people now in the company speak German, because a few people have relocated there, and the band we use are all based in Leipzig. And obviously any producers, theatre hosts, directors, anyone we deal with, Sebastian, the boss, will automatically, of course, speak in German. And so whereas here, if you turned up at a theatre, you could say, hey, I'm Helen, really excited, and you know, have a little look around, and it's really easy if you're lost to go and ask. There's already that kind of barrier when you enter the new space, that there's like, everyone now has to change language for the company. And that is a thing that sometimes I feel quite difficult about, because when I'm in another place, I like to speak their language as much as I can. But everyone so far has been amazing at adapting to us. And it's actually a really nice thing about the company, is that we bring so many different cultures together. There's quite a lot of culture clashes sometimes, but everyone in the company is pretty open about everything. So like for Vilma Kananen, for example, she's from Sweden, and well, she's actually from Finland, but she lives in Sweden. And so a lot of like the hugging and the kissing of the different cultures is just like, she's like, guys, don't touch me. I'm fine, I'll wave. We don't have to kiss every morning. And that's like, now we're like a family. We know what each other needs, and when you're tired, we know if so-and-so is ill, then we know what they need to cook for themselves. And it's been really fun. I've learned so much, not just as a dancer, but as like a human, about working with all these different people. And like to cook, we all like have themed nights. So one night we'll have a Swedish theme, and Vilma will cook us an amazing Swedish dinner. So it's not for me just been about the dancing and the work, but I've had this whole experience. I've been to some amazing places as well. I've got like family all over the world now. So that's been a really like a real luxury of it. As far as the process is concerned, it's intense. We basically, when we fly there, everyone drops everything at home, and we fly there, and we work from about 9 a.m. till 10 or 11 p.m. every day for the time that we're there. And Sebastian will work 4 hours either side of that to get it done, because you're just so limited on time. And then he knows that we're funded. We've got like a 3-year grant over there, so that is amazing. But as everyone will know, funding really doesn't go that far. So I think he's very aware that once we're back home, he needs to let us earn our living and crack on here, and he can't call on us that much, because it would be like this, everything would have to be online. So the time that we have is precious, because you can't just call them in for another rehearsal in the evening if it doesn't go right, because everyone's across the world. So yeah, the time when we're there is intense, but it always has a really good build. So we know like the first rehearsal period is going to be loads of material. The second period, all that material will have been scrapped, and we'll start again basically nearly every time. And then the third time, we put those two things back together, and then there'll be a premiere at the end of it. And that's happened for most of our projects now. Nice, because as dancers, we get a lot of input as well, because we're all trained so differently. We've all had completely different upbringings. I trained professionally as a dancer. I went to Bird. Ryan was my tap teacher at Bird, actually. And Avalon. Oh my God, they're both here. There you go. Thanks, guys. And then I also trained at festivals. That's where I met Hannah and Lexi and Jamie as well. So one big happy family. So I've had a lot of like official training, but for example, Nick in the company just learned from Sebastian a lot growing up. He would take classes. Andrea learned to tap dance online from watching videos, because they don't have a huge tap scene in Honduras. So our learning process is really different. I'm known as the one that can remember everything and will pick it up really quickly. And then when I've got it, I will then go and teach Sebastian, because even though he's choreographed it, he doesn't know what he's doing. So there's a real like structure as to how we all pick things up. And like the first time round, it was really difficult, because you don't know these things about each other. And now we all know that, yeah, so-and-so is messing this up, but he's going to have it in a week, so we don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, you know that they need that like 3-day processing time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah. And also everyone, it's much easier when you're in the same country. You know a lot more about what's going on in each other's lives, whereas when you're all over the world, you then come back together And like some people, Yana in the company has a baby and her boyfriend at home. So every time she comes, she's having to leave her family. And there's all these different aspects that come into the project that actually they always end up in the show, because a lot of what we do is either improvised or kind of gets thrown in there somewhere. So there's a lot of us within the material, which is really nice. Yeah, it's really good. That was really different when we did Touch last year, though, which is a duet with myself and Nikolai Kemeny. And that was quite a last minute project that he really wanted to create and then suddenly got the funding. And so we did the research week for folk fiction, and then me and Nick stayed for 2 weeks, and we basically had to do the whole show in that 2 weeks. But it's all body percussion and in bare feet in sand and with loads of contact work. And Nick has never done a lift in his life. I have not pointed my toes in about 4 years. So that process, rather than us being nice and arty and creative and romantically rolling around in the sand, it was like a panic of learn all these sounds, go home, practice it, and then put it together. It was a harsher system. Yeah, but it's pretty good.
Sounds interesting. Nice. Okay, gonna move on. Hannah and Lexi, would you guys be able to give us a little bit more info on your awesome blend of tap dance and physical theatre and comedy, and how those things came together? Like, you know, did everything arrive at the same time? Did it start off as this? Did it blend over here? I mean,
it's a great question.
Go for it.
I don't know if I have the answer. I guess over the last 4-5 years, 2016 actually, maybe, we started integrating physical comedy into our work. This came out of, initially it came out of my other hat, because I work in comedy other than tap. And I had some dates at a big fringe festival in London, and then the person I was going to make a show with backed away, and I happened to be telling Hannah about it, and she was like, should we just make it a Soul Rebel show? And I was like, yes. So it came out of that. So I'd sort of, it was a completely different show. It wasn't like we were trying to fill this brief. Mm-hmm. We just had the slots, and I just pitched this new show. And so we started playing with storytelling and comedy and bringing mixing tap in with that. And we made an hour-long duet, basically, on our own, which was scary and had many incarnations. And we borrowed the help for the final incarnation. We had met at Liverpool Physical Fest. We'd met this amazing clown director called Peter Lilly, and she came and messed around with the show. And when we took it to Edinburgh, that was terrifying. We had no time at all to get that right.
She didn't just mess with it. We had 2 days with it, and she scrapped our show and made a new one.
I like her, and she's done the same thing.
Oh yeah, you did with Stuart.
I remember. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had like maybe 3 days, like literally with her for an hour-long show, and she pulled it apart and put. Oh my god! And then we just went to Edinburgh for a month. But we nailed it by the end of Edinburgh, I think. But anyway, so since then, Hannah's done a bit more project work and training in physical theatre and comedy and clown, and we've kind of been developing those parts in. We've always had a collaborative theme to our work, so we're always excited and working with other people from other disciplines. And so in the last kind of year, Hannah, would you say, we've kind of had this rebrand, but just to kind of figure, I don't know why I don't have a hat, and I don't know why I keep doing that.
Sorry, it's a metaphorical hat, it's fine.
I do a lot of hand gestures, and they don't often have anything to do with what I'm saying. And we've kind of had this idea of, we've actually taken the word tap off the end of our company. It's kind of irrelevant, it's still there a little bit. But it's because we feel like we are tap and. There is always tap.
Mm-hmm.
The tap is exciting, it generates a lot of what we do. But we kind of want to get more audiences excited by our work, and then the tap is like this incredible extra nourished thing that is very much part of it. So
it's just one string to your bow.
Yeah, exactly. And it's exciting in terms of musical collaborations. So like Hannah was saying a moment ago, we've had this we actually brought him in because Hannah's worked with him before, this guy called Chris Redmond, who is this amazing kind of spontaneous composer and creator, but he's also a brilliant performer. So he's like the third person in our show off the beaten track. But his other hat is he's a poet and runs an amazing performance company called Tung Fu, who do like poetry with live music, and they invite these amazing poets from all around the world and stuff. So he's been doing a lot of writing for our show as well. So we've always got this kind of musical collaboration thing, which is really exciting. And then we've got Sean Kempton, who is our clown from Cirque du Soleil, who's also a director, and his kind of mode of operating is that he is a director, but he has worked loads of people with different disciplines. So he's really good. He will get a trapeze duo or a stilt person. And in this case, he's getting 2 tap dancers and a poet musician. And he's kind of making a nourishing story and making us be funny and perform and nourishing a show, but with those skills kind of at the heart. But the hard thing is then trying to relayer those skills back in. And we're still trying to do that. So I think we still need more weeks of our creative process. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, but I'm going to keep going just for one more thing. So between Hannah and I, the other stuff we do, we have got lots of sort of outdoor projects. So we make shorter pieces of work that we can tour around much more easily with. We've done a lot of
often festivals and things, right?
And outdoor festivals, yeah. Because we get really excited about audiences who aren't looking for tap. So whether that's theatre audiences, comedy audiences in terms of fringe festivals, and then for the outdoor circuit, it's so nice doing people just chancing upon tap and discovering it. They didn't know they were coming to see it. It came to them. But the other stuff we do, we've never been based in the same city in the 10 years that Soul Rebel has existed. So Hannah lives in Liverpool and I live in London, but I also teach in Oxford. And between us, I think we do around 15, 16 classes a week, all adult tap, and around sort of 150, 200 students. So I'm developing some projects at the moment with some of my higher levels. And we did a project last term, pre-lockdown, with a colleague of mine who's a conductor for a big band at the college I work at. And
is this Flavio?
This is Flavio.
Hey, Flavio.
And also jazz drummer. So we did a collaboration. I had like 20 of my students in his big band, and we did a thing. But there's hopefully more of that to come when lockdown stopping us.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Hannah, did I cover everything for now?
That sounded great. Yeah.
Fine.
Well done. Thanks, Lexi. All right, Avalon, you already touched on, kind of the different creative processes behind, say, Fallout and Oscillate. You know, Fallout got put together little bit by bit over a much longer period of time. Oscillate, and definitely in terms of putting it on the dancers, that happened relatively quickly. But both shows, they're very different, but they both still have something about them that makes them like an Old Kent Road production. You know, there's that something. The dab before it was a dab. You as artistic director, you always get essentially the final say on things, but you ask for a lot of input.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure you retain that Old Kent Road feel or flavor within two completely different productions while taking like everyone else's inputs and information? How do you make sure you retain that essence of the company?
Right. I've always been very inspired by the people I work with. There's a reason why I put a bunch of people in a room or on stage together. And it's, you know, not everybody is supposed to be a soloist, and some people are supposed to be, I think, ensemble dancers. So I have a massive trust in the people that I work with. So when I ask for an opinion or like, hey, give me some help here, I know that I'm going to get something that I really trust and that I know that I can work with. The dancers that are in the company I've known for years, and we've all had a pretty similar training, essentially, also because most of us have been dancing in the same room for 5-6 years. So how do I make it? Everybody in the company, first of all, has like their own things that they specialize in. Like Ali, for example, if you want to ask something musically, you're going to ask Ali about it. If you're going to need something reversed and put on the second side, you're going to ask Jamie about it. You know, there's like so many different people that are like great at doing things. For me, I like to look at the dance as well. I like to hear it, but I like to look at it. And for me, sometimes I get lost in tap dance that is just tap dance for the sake of tap dance. Like if it hasn't got anything just a little bit different, a little bit, I don't know, stylistic, the movement, the shapes, the like weirdness within our bodies, the like different energy that you can grab from other people and grab from the music and like put it into like a different way of like putting it out there. I don't know if I'm making any sense here.
Yeah, kind of.
Everybody says I'm a little bit awkward in the things I do.
You like to put the wrong arm to things. Yeah,
I'm actually very uncoordinated as a person and very clumsy, and that sometimes also comes out in my work quite a lot. The people are like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, that just feels natural on me, so then everybody has to change. It's a natural thing, which is some of the work is a little like odd, like you wouldn't normally do that particular arm with it. And then, for example, when we're doing trio, and it's like Jamie, myself, and Rosie. Jamie and Rosie, for some reason, dance very similarly. Yeah, that's good. Even though you guys have never really danced together, or do you dance together at Tap Attack?
Yeah, I mean, we trained for a long time when we were younger in Tap Attack.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Ah.
Tap Attack is a different thing. You know, lots of the dancers do dance very similar to each other. When you're doing a formation, we have to have exact arms, and we just kind of, it might just be a coincidence anyway that we dance similarly, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? Me and Rosie.
So when we're doing trio, I'm always the one, it's my choreography, but I look like the odd one out. So then I have to like relearn, like, or try and do something that the other guys are doing to like fit in sometimes. I think style is a big thing in Old Kent Road. I think we do have a particular style. I don't know why. I don't know where that's come from. Do you guys? Yes, hello.
Yeah, Duffy.
If I may, if like for me as a dancer in the company and having worked in like other companies as well, you tend to mold to whatever role you're filling that day. So for example, Avalon and Ryan, the majority of the company, they have trained in one way or another. Maybe it's not a whole career's worth, but it's quite a young company, so we have all learnt from these guys in one way or another. So the first taste of like real tap dance and opening this world that, I could actually be a tap dancer, this was the first thing I knew. And so you kind of automatically then go towards it. So even though now I do a lot of other things that are totally another style to this, that's almost like a switch. Like I know if I'm doing an Old Kent Road choreography, it's going to be slick, and I know that when I do a rhythm turn, my arms are coming out and they're coming in, because there's just things that, although you haven't told us to do, like I, as a younger dancer, automatically wanted to be you and Adele and Ryan and Jamie. I wanted to like get to that point, so you go, I'll do it how they do it. And now that's like a switch. When I come in to do trio, I know that I'm going to be on the same arm or whatever, because it's just inbuilt, I think, for me.
Old Kent Road mode.
Yeah.
Power. Does that answer anything that you asked me?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an eclectic approach. right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, so some people have already kind of touched on this, and I'll just throw this out there in a very broad way, but funding. How do people pay to get this stuff done? Nothing happens for free. Rehearsal space costs money. You know, getting into a theatre costs money, just like getting a floor to dance on costs money. And obviously you all want to pay yourselves and you want to pay the dancers. How do you go about it? Anyone want to kick us off? Someone just jump in. Yeah, go for it, Av.
So Lexi massively helped me at the beginning. I self-funded the company for many years. I made a floor with a friend. That was our first floor. It was always really important to have a wooden floor. I never wanted to dance without a wooden floor. So floor that was made. The second floor we actually ended up buying. Lexi basically wrote 2 or 3 funding applications for us. Yeah, it was a lot. I am really terrible at writing, so I would write some ideas down. Lexi would go over them. Now I send it to Ryan. Sometimes I send it to Ali. Ryan's wife has helped. And everybody helps a little bit. And luckily we've had Arts Council funding 4 times, but there's the different bracket of under 15,000 and over 15,000. And when I went to have a meeting, £15,000, it sounds a lot of money, but it literally lasts you about a week or maybe 2 weeks by the time you try to pay 6 to 8 dancers and van hire and accommodation, all of that kind of thing. It doesn't go far at all. So when I went to have a meeting with the Arts Council and I said, yeah, £15,000 is nothing. I need at least double that. And they were like, yeah, you need to apply for that under £15,000 probably 6 or 7 times. And at this time I was on my 3rd successful application. And I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna apply for double the amount because it just doesn't do anything. And the Arts Council applications are so long and everything has to be exact word count and to the penny with the budget. And it's that in itself is a job. I'm a tap dancer. I'm a dancer. I'm a creative person. I'm not the kind of person that spends a bunch of time on the computer. I actually am now, but I hate doing it. I'm not very good at it. So yes, Arts Council funding is amazing, but it's very difficult to get yourself in that mindset to do those applications. We also fundraise. So some of the time with the Arts Council, you do have to say you're getting private income or you're fundraising. So we do generally fundraise. And we do have some private donors as well that every so often we'll be like, hey, we need a little bit of money. Or someone's like, hey, do you need some money? I'm like, yes. So that is how, yes, please. That is how we've managed to be successful. Also, one of our biggest things is that we have studio space at South London Dance Studios. And we've had that since 2014. And we are able to come into the studios and rehearse every Friday. The principal doesn't charge us; she gives us an artistic residency. I do a little bit of teaching and stuff like that. We get a key. We get to store all of our stuff storage as well when you're on gigs, and you need to drop flooring off at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And we have our own key to our own storage thing. We don't have to pay for it. We've got boxes and 2 sets of floors, and I've got loads of costumes and boxes of tap shoes and stuff like that downstairs. So actually having a base, and we're lucky that we have that base, is for us is an incredible thing. So yeah.
Nice. Anyone want to add anything, whether it might be Arts Council experiences or from the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like Jamie having to put together something like Brighton, Jack trying to get Feet Keep Me Flying funded?
Yeah, I mean, I could say a couple of things, mainly about because my performing experience is within the musical theatre industry and seeing how commercial producers work and really, I mean, I did 42nd Street, and that was really the biggest trigger to make me get up and be active to try and create a tap show that can exist amongst those types of shows, something that's large scale, something that's viable to be toured, that can bring in quite a big audience and employ tap dancers. You know, that's the big dream. I'd love to be able to give a tap dancer a contract and here's a tour and stuff like that. And you know, the Arts Council, what that did for me, and it took 4 applications to get it right, was to essentially take the first step. And since then, I've been lucky enough to have been approached and had meetings with some really well-known commercial producers, and it exposed it instantly how much they hold the keys to so many doors. And they would, well, this particular person, you know, for like, we basically lost like a contract over a couple of grand, which to this person was nothing. You know, they eat it for breakfast. And I don't know, it like for me, I feel like tap dance is at such a disadvantage because we can't create a show that can compete with all the musical theatre stuff, all of the MGM recreations and revivals and things like that, without a budget, without an institution, without space, and all of those things that almost every other dance style has got. And tap dance was just sort of left alone. And even, you know, I've even had an opportunity to present the show for like a massive dance house, the biggest dance house in the country, and you probably all know who that is by saying that. And even they put a price tag on presenting the work because it was tap dance, and they wouldn't have done that for a contemporary company. So in terms of funding, where I'm at is I'm trying to convince a commercial producer to invest, to put seed money in, with the incentive that they'll make the money back and more. That's the approach that I'm going for, not so that I can profit myself, but so that I can create a show that brings in enough revenue to give a tap dancer like a you know, employment. And then for Huffers, that's a kind of like, I reverse engineer everything. So I find out how much the production is going to cost, split it up, and then that's what the dancers pay. And it's usually about 50 quid. So for 6 weeks, they do like a full day of training. They do the rehearsals, they do the video, they get that back. They put that in their show reels. So really that's a passion project. It's sort of a giving back for them. Their footage can be used to promote themselves. And it's very much like that. And that's why I think hopefully I've reinforced the sense of Huffers being an antidote to Feet Keep Me Flying and putting on like professional work, because you don't have the pressure of raising money. And yeah, Bird College give me lots of studio space, and I do a lot of like I trade in time, as opposed to, I use time as a currency. So like not just with Bird, but with like another dance school. Let's say you're looking to use a studio, that studio costs X per hour. Why not offer yourself to teach for them in exchange for that studio space? And it's always a good deal for everybody around. So and that's obviously usually the most expensive thing. The most expensive overhead is studio space. So doing things like that, trading time rather than finance, sometimes helps when getting things off the ground.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jack. Jamie, anything to add from the other end of the spectrum?
Yeah, I'll quickly touch on it. So all of us in the Brighton Tap Festival kind of creation, all of us that created it, we didn't go for funding. We just thought, if we're going to get it done, we need to just put the money in and do it and see how it goes. Luckily for us, my mum had actually just sold a flat that she had for years. So instead of renting it, she sold it. So that's why we originally came up with the idea of doing it, because she had some money in the bank. So instead of, you know, buying luxuries for herself, we thought, let's use the money to create a tap festival. So it's kind of similar to Jack's Hoofers. We don't do it for money. We've never done it for profit. It's always been for the love of tap dance and just providing you know, 3 days of loads and loads of tap for people that want to do it. It's never been for money ever. So yeah, funding, we haven't applied for Arts Council, we haven't applied for private funding. We've always kind of had the money just to put into it and hope that we get it back with the ticket sales, you know, from people watching the gala. And yeah, it has been really hard. It's not an easy thing to do. You do lose quite a lot of money doing that. But we did it because we wanted to provide a festival for the UK. So that's why we did it.
Awesome. And yeah, we thank you for it. Okay. Well, it's Avalon. We are almost out of time. I just wanted, like, really quickly, if anyone's got a question, throw it in the chat real quick, but I'm going to try and do this really quickly. Just I'm aware that people need to get ready to either teach or take class. So if anyone has a question, throw it in the chat. I'll have it ready and waiting and I'll read it out. And just while we're waiting for that to come in, is anyone on the panel, if you just had one tiny snippet of advice for anyone looking to create work, what would it be?
I have one, if I may.
Yeah, go quick, and then I've got a question, actually.
Okay, the thing that I've told myself this year is there's a billion reasons not to do things, but you've just got to get on with it. There's always a reason that you can say, oh, I can't do it now because of money. I can't do it now because I'm doing this. Like, it'll never happen. You've just got to grab it by the balls and try, and you can't regret trying, so crack on.
Wise words, Duffy. All right, we've got a question from Becky. She's asked, how do you go about promoting your show and pitching it to venues? So we might have a variety of answers here. If we could try and keep it quickish, that would be awesome. Yeah, anyone want to jump in on that?
H? Oh, she's on mute. You're on mute.
Where is she?
How do you go about promoting your show and pitching it to venues? Well, we've got a producer now, which is amazing, and we're growing our team. So before we did everything ourselves, and everyone knows how time consuming it is doing social media. Like, I hate it myself. But now we've got a producer and we're building our team. So pitching our show to venues. Lexi?
Well, sorry, yeah, no, that was it. That was the short and answer. Is we've got this lovely producer who's doing venue tour, like putting a tour together for us now. But it's taken us 10 years to get to the point.
Yeah, but being able to delegate some of that work out.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No,
I can offer something.
Yeah, go for
like
it.
I do lots of research into a venue, and then find a contact that I have a connection to, a personal connection. Whether it's like someone I've been in a show with, their agent knows blah blah blah, something like that, so that when you reach out to that person, you've already got like a familiar person, that there's like a mutual contact, and you explain why you think that particular venue is perfect for your show, rather than just sending out a broad email. I had this thing with a friend who's trying to get a new agent, new representation at the minute as an actor, and he just made this general email and was going to send it out to loads of people, and I said no, because that will go in the bin. If you've not put in the effort for each individual agent and said why you want that person, they're not going to value your interest as much. So for me, like I have 5 venues that I work really, really hard to make connections with, as opposed to having this one pitch that goes out to everybody everywhere, because it's catered to, and each contact is different, and there's a different reason for contacting them. Yeah, that's kind of what I would say is try and find someone. Try and find an assistant or an associate. Twitter, sometimes artistic directors of theatres will answer you on Twitter, but not by email. That says so much about today, but you can imagine the inbox of an artistic director, and from personal experience, having spoken to someone, they say they get on average about 50 submissions for a new show every day. That's the competition that they're facing. But if you tweet them, they might only get 5 mentions a day, and all of a sudden, do you know what I mean? So sometimes tweeting a video, it can then, and if you get a like or a response from Twitter, you can then use that into your intro.
And then maybe they
Like,
go, look for that email.
Thanks for interacting with me, blah, blah, blah. I'd just like to tell you a little bit more about it. So as much as I hate social media, it's actually really important for business. That's why, like, for me, social media is just my work, and I don't put personal things on there now, because even me, like if I need to look someone up, the first thing I do is look them up on Facebook, which is crazy, but I think a lot of other people do that too. So yeah, that helps. Do a lot of research into who you're contacting, make it personal to them.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. We could keep talking forever, but I want everyone to have a bit of time to get ready for class. So yeah, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome. Some great insights. Folks that were tuning in just to kind of watch and listen, I hope you found some useful stuff in there. And yeah, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a great class if you're taking class. And we'll see you at the gala as well, which is going to be awesome. We've got some really nice stuff to share.
So one thing from me, if anyone wants to extend this conversation, I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else, but if you want to send me an email, I'll be happy to give you some more tips if you need them. I don't want the conversation to end here.
Yeah, I think everyone in this meeting has had similar experiences with other people helping us and sharing information with us. Yeah. And tap dance is such an oral tradition that we have to help pass it along as well. So yeah, same here. Get in touch.
Definitely. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Well done.